Hey, hello. How you doing? How's your day, Emma?
My day, very good.
Excellent. Our day was very good today. We've had 20. Can you believe this? Now, just sort of take a beat, pause, take a deep breath. We've had 23 hours of uninterrupted internet.
Yep.
So, hello, Samantha. Thank you for joining us in our living room. We're just celebrating the fact that we've had 23 hours of uninterrupted internet from our internet service provider, who shall be nameless, but it's certainly the case that other internet providers are available, and we're looking at it. We're here to talk about the good and the bad of Corona and other things, and lockdown and what have you.
It's just an update of every day. Just a way of saying hello to everybody and to be with our friends in our living room.
It absolutely is. So there's some good, there's some not quite so good. So I always, it's like the joke with the bloke in. I told you the joke, and I think I mentioned this before once. The bloke in hospital, where the doctor says, "Hello, Ian, you're just in time for a joke." So this it's been terribly poor taste. The bloke comes round in hospital after his operation, and the doctor goes, "We've got good news and we've got bad news," and the guy says, "Okay, give me the bad news." And the guy said, "Well, I'm sorry, we had to cut off your legs." And the guy said, "Well, what can possibly be good news?" To which the doctor replies, "Well, that fellow in the next bed, he wants to buy your shoes." And hence we're going to get the bad news out of the way first, and then we'll move on to lots of good news today about the lockdown situation and all that's going well in the world. And a very good evening to my very good friend Kevin, and it's terrific to have you on board. So we've got two out of three people being radio people tonight, which is wonderful. Let's not have another joke right away. Let's maybe at the halfway point. I think if you've got a thoughts are always good. If you've got one of those, or we'll have them a bit later. Okay, yeah, we'll just do the thoughtless bit to start with.
Just a joke. That's right.
So in Cambridge here, where we're based, not a good day for this virus. The largest number of people, the highest 24-hour increase today, but that's bucking the trend a bit. And it's only we're talking. Well, I say it's only every death is tragic. 11 people passed in our county today. Seems like a drop in the ocean, but each one is a family. Each one is a tragedy. Hello, Stephanie. We're kind of getting through all the sort of mediocre stuff about this sort of virus and lockdown first, and then there's some super good news. We'll save that, and some terribly funny things, but we'll save those bits to the end, saving the best till last. Yeah. Well, this is kind of quite good, isn't it? Coronavirus could be wiped out in London in weeks. The R value in England has been creeping up a bit, which is not so good. It is still below 1. So if each person that's got it infects fewer than one other person, then ultimately the numbers dwindle, and the lower that number gets, the better it is. So and here's a nice picture of London, actually, courtesy of Sky News. And I love the way that when they're talking about London, they just show a picture of London, and then that puts the news in context. And then it's like on the telly. Do you know how they stand outside the Houses of Parliament, or they'll stand outside some Westminster Abbey or some hospital, something to report on something that's going on inside there, which they could easily do from the studio, but they just want a nice little day out. So we don't get any days out now because we're still in lockdown here. I don't know what the rest of the country's doing, but we're still, this little bit of England is in lockdown.
That's right.
And we're going to continue to see those numbers go down because, look, it's not a nice illness. You've seen all these people in the intensive care with all the masks on and that kind of thing, and choking and coughing. I don't think that's a very nice thing. And I think if the trade-off is, not going for a little bicycle trip, not walking along the street, singing in the rain or something, I can live with that for a little bit longer.
On that note about masks, it says apparently men, according to Sky News, men is less likely to wear face masks because it is a sign of weakness.
Maybe that explains why more men are ending up in the old A&E.
So,
Could be, but we see a fair few masky people going past, and it's a rather unique time actually where you can walk into the bank wearing a mask and you won't be jumped on by the security. So kind of, how about that? I mean, the last time I was there wearing my mask, they pinned me to the floor like that, and they were frisking me and everything, and they wrestled the shotgun off me, and I had six months inside for that. So so it's a good sign, and I'm joking, by the way.
This is according to research from Middlesex University. So.
Men and women now. Surprise of the day! Ta-da! Men and women. The research suggested that men and women were more likely to wear masks if they lived in countries where the law stated they had to. What a surprise! Yo! I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, what do these journalists do all day long? And then they sort of knock up they're sitting in a pub all day, and at 5 to 5, they knock up some little story and it goes to press. We can do better. Can do better. It's like the school report. Can do better, I think. But yeah. So the number of people becoming infected with this virus each day in London may have fallen to 24. What does that mean, may? Well, either it did or it didn't. It may have fallen to 0. So yeah. But it does appear to be slowing. We are under 1. But some scientists say this R number, this all-important R number, has gone up, and other scientists say that it's gone down. So kind of, hang on a minute. 24. I mean, this is just nothing makes any sense. The according to this, the number of people becoming infected with this virus may have fallen to 24, but then further down in the article, there were 49 patients admitted to hospital in London yesterday. So I don't understand it. I expect the same people that wrote Boris Johnson's speech on Sunday wrote that. That's all I can possibly think about at this juncture. But who knows? Well, anyway, moving on. 14,000 in the times when we had lockdown and we weren't just staying aware. 14,000 lockdown breach fines were imposed, according to the BBC, that is, for alleged breaches of lockdown laws. Lock them up, and then if you bang them in the clink, then they won't be able to breach lockdown, will they? Because they'll be locked up. Job done, and then there's no need even to pelt them with rotten bananas. Although I would love to. London congestion charge to rise 30% next month.
Of the huge
TfL Transport for London bailout. So presumably, not so many people have been using the buses. So hey, let's tax the drivers.
Oh, but I received an email talking about drivers at Uber, and they delivering face masks to every driver, and they giving you guidelines and if you order an Uber cab, just to keep the distance and pay by card. Obviously.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. It's all the sort of lockdown stuff, and here are some people being told off in the park during lockdown for sitting there. And the only people within about 5 metres of them are the boys and girls in blue, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe they were coughing on the way there or something like that.
But apparently, people who have been charged during the COVID, it says, every person prosecuted on the Coronavirus Act was wrongly charged.
Every person?
Yeah. Yeah, police officer speaks to someone on a beach during the lockdown, but apparently they was wrongly charged, the Crown Prosecution Services has said. So it seems like it's going to be a huge issues with legal.
Well, it was drafted in a hurry, so God bless them. They're doing their best, aren't they? Really. So continued controversy about this number R, which I didn't even know what R meant until 3 months ago, whatever it is, and now I follow it very sternly every day. But so some people say R's going up a bit, which completely contrasts the thing about London, where they said R was going down. Maybe R's going down in London, but up elsewhere. I have no idea. There's going to be testing for all care home residents and staff, about bloody time too. And they should never ever have been releasing people from hospitals without testing them for COVID-19 and sending them back to care homes. That was criminal. I mean, people should go to prison for that, I think. But anyway, that's just me. And then there's this thing about opening the schools. And there's been a lot of talk about opening the schools here in the UK in June. That's insane. We're just getting over this thing. The rates are going down. Granny and Grandpa are waiting to get a visit from the little sprogs, and you send all the sproglets to school to mingle and infect each other.
See what happens, because apparently the teachers' union are against it. So
not only the teachers' union, because I can exclusively reveal here tonight, apart from the fact that it's on the BBC website, that the doctors' union have agreed with the teachers' union that it's far too early to open schools. The BMA says teachers and heads are absolutely right to urge caution and to prioritise testing to avoid a second spike. Hello? This is from the country that was 2 weeks too late. I mean, this is the thing. We were too late to lock down, and now we're going to be too early to open up. What do you do with these guys?
Well, I think it was a part of the strategy, because if you're going to be ill, you're going to be ill during the holidays. Therefore, hopefully, by the new academic year, you'll be okay to attend school. So I think it was to do with strategy.
So Kevin says that my wild intuitive guess is correct, that the value of R is going down in London to 0.4, but in other areas like the northeast it's 0.8. But both of those being below the magic number of 1, so it is kind of going down. But there I am in the front garden today, not doing any gardening because I'm allergic to that. Especially, any excuse not to do gardening. But this guy drives past, rolls down his window and goes, "Here, mate, have you got a light?" And so, would you like to come over here and get infected with my coronavirus? I said, no, I'll pass on that. So I mean, hello. And the irony is that these cerebrally challenged people are usually quite constitutionally built like an ox. So even if they do get this kind of thing, they're going to be all right, and they're just going to give it to me, and I'm going to pop my clogs. So it ain't fair. But
Indeed.
He didn't get his light, and he went away very peeved.
He
But
couldn't
luckily,
smoke for starters.
he didn't. Well, there is that. So I would have had to rub sticks together in the front garden to help this fella. But one of those things, and so maybe the schools won't get reopened. And friends of mine who've been talking about school thing, I'll be sending to a couple of my friends who are thinking about sending the old kids back this guidance from the British Medical Association, just to sort of focus
it is
their
too
minds.
soon. I mean, I assume it's I don't know. It's
And
too soon.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And so if you're thinking of trying to build a consensus about coronavirus, which is sensible, because if we're on the same page, I mean, here we do mostly. I was just over the road in the railway station car park, and somebody came along today, and I had to hop over the fence out of the way to keep the 2 metres. So there are a few people who are a bit, you should have seen it, but there are a few people who are a bit, because that's my constitution, is just walking around the empty car park a few times, not every day, because you can have too much of a good thing, but yeah, you've never seen anybody move so quickly, now, political consensus in the time of Corona, you've got to be kidding me. Labour has said that the Prime Minister is going to lead a public health drive on obesity, and he blames the fact that he found himself at quite a young age in the old ICU on the fact that he's a bit too fond of the old jam butties, and so we're going to have obesity has always been a thing that's put a bit of a strain on the heart and that kind of stuff. But with this coronavirus, it's real serious shit, and so better cut down now on all those foods that make you larger. And mostly what they are, forget the calorie counters and all that kind of stuff. This is just a bit of advice, and other ways of dealing with it exist, and consult your medical practitioner before doing it, blah, blah, blah. The way that I went down from 92 kilos before I met Irma, she wouldn't give me a second glance if I'd been Mr. Chubby. I know. So it was kind of quite lucky, just in the nick of time, by accident, and now I'm 68 and a half, I think. Probably. Do you reckon?
60...
Do you reckon? Can I get away with that, or is it 69?
69, I think.
Okay.
He doesn't like that.
Okay. But anyway, a lot fewer kilos than I used to be. And Kevin will remember me when I was larger than I am now. Anyway, and you won't recognise me next time. You'll say, you say, "Where's your twin brother David?" And I go, "No, it's me." I go, "No, no, 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 the big chump." Kevin says, which I think is terrific. When that fella drove past and said, "Have you got a light, mate?" You should have shone a torch at him. That's absolutely. I'll keep one on me next time, just in case that sort of happens again. So, so according to reports in the Guardian, which is so known for its accuracy that people call it the Groniad, because of all the typos and misprints and things. But anyway, apparently there are reports that Johnson joked with his advisers that thinnies are not as prone to the worst, his words, not mine, are not as prone to the worst effects of the coronavirus, and now he wants to lead a war on obesity. His official spokesman said, blah, 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 blah. He didn't quite say that, but he's going to lead a campaign to do more cycling. So, in other words, yes, he did say that. But those spin doctors, you've got to love them, hate them, or put them up against a wall and stone them, but, you decide. We don't do that anymore. So, any joking? That was in sort of biblical times and that kind of thing, when you'd go out for a good stoning, or in that movie Life of Brian. I don't know if you remember where John Cleese is the guy leading the stoning who gets stoned, but not in the sense of the 1960s.
I was going to say that you can be taken to any
throwing rocks at people and stuff. So, but don't do either of those two things at home. Just
not even tomatoes, poor tomatoes.
Don't. We wouldn't do either of those things at home, and don't you either.
Yeah.
And here's a gloomy one. You said I didn't sort them out quite as well as I should. Sharon is with us. Hello, Sharon. It's good to have you along. I've just got one bit of gloomy news to slide in, and then we're going to be on to all the usual fun stuff. This is a doctor who treated the first UK patients of all, patient 1 and patient 2, who were up in Newcastle. And they were two patients who had stayed in an apartment hotel in York. And they came into the specialist centre in Newcastle on the 31st of January. I remember that on the map, little red dot up in the northeast. And they, of course, recovered and went home, and other patients came along subsequently. This is the nearest you get to a Costa nowadays, I tell you. And other coffee shops are available, but I haven't got their cups. In fact, I think we have got a Cafe Nero one. We'll bring that out at some time as well. But obviously not a Starbucks. So this is the doc who treated those first two patients, and it probably been quite a thing for him really, and now obviously being on the front lines in A&E, it's a day-to-day occurrence. But basically, he's warning that the shockwave of this could go on a while if we have like a second and a third wave. That's basically what he's saying, that fundamental changes in the sort of frontline way that our A&E staff operate, where no more tea breaks, and that are just relentless through all their shifts, cases and cases and cases and cases, just like non-stop. What he basically says is this. He says it's very important that we don't do anything, and when he says we, I think he means government, because they lead the party on this one, that we don't do anything that might risk a second surge, because if it is worse than the first one, then all the good work would be undone. Everything that we have sacrificed, everybody over the last few weeks, would be undone by a second surge if it's worse. And I think, and he believes that what happens next depends on clear messaging from the authorities and social responsibility from every citizen, both of which are going to be a bit of an uphill struggle, I should think. But not every citizen, because obviously all our mates are very well behaved and do the right thing. And the fact that we're all sitting here in the living room with us having a virtual coffee on a Friday evening is kind of quite a good thing. Now Sharon says, thank you, Sharon, for this thought. Sharon says, finding the hero within yourself. And this is one of Sharon's poems. So hold everything. We're going to read. I'm a great fan, of Sharon's work, and with permission, I'm going to read this right now. It's okay. Finding the hero within yourself, by Sharon Griffiths, version 2. Be who you want to become. The past doesn't define us. It's gone. We don't have to live there if we don't want to. And the present is the greatest gift of time. But our present, the time we give to and give ourselves, also a greater gift. We can begin to commit, to change, to take massive action and make a change now. If we do choose to do so, as it starts with us, ourselves, you see. And so you see, this is my message. You, it's about you. C, it's about choice. H, it's about being your own hero. A, about action, planning, and massive action. N, it's about identifying you, next steps. G, it's about going for your goals, going for gold. E, exiting what isn't and what should be, and entering what shouldn't be, and entering where you want to be in time and space now. It is, of course, your choice, aiming for simplification. So that spells out you change. Terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. A very good evening to Subhash and to Lisa. Thank you for joining us for our little get-together in the old living room here. It being Friday night, we're not having any wine at all, are we? We're just sitting here with the old teas.
Coffee.
And teas?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one coffee, one tea. Okay, strictly speaking. Yeah, and so what about sort of some of the more good stuff going down? And let us see what we can find here. Let's start with a few of the upbeat things going on in the world. There's this one from the Daily Torygraph or Telegraph. The Red Arrows are apparently continuing to do some training in the hope that there will be some air shows this year. And this is them looping the loop over Lincoln Cathedral. And it looks like there's sort of Millennium Wheel on it. You can't a bit faint there, but a big loop in the sky. I'm not sure if it's good to do aerobatic exercises over historic landmarks because and you know, let's face it, the Red Arrows do a great job, but it might be better if they did it over a field. Because if there was some mishap and the pilot had to eject and the plane plummeted to the ground, it would destroy Lincoln Cathedral. Just a small thing.
Yeah, not just Lincoln Cathedral. It could be people.
Well, it could be
yeah.
also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so but what the pilots did, so it was kind of for keeping people's morale up. They painted a blue heart in the sky to show their appreciation for the NHS and key workers, which wouldn't have had quite the same effect, admittedly, over a field in the middle of Lincolnshire, which nobody would have seen. So I do take the point. And these guys are very, very, very professional, and they totally know what they're doing. So, you know, I'll just retract that last thing. Sharon says she's eating vegetable and pea protein stew cooked by her hubby. Good for weight loss. Terrific. You mean your hubby cooks? Wow. Does your hubby cook?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sort of. You know, I do omelettes. So, you know, they're terrific ones. They're a bit crap, actually, let's be honest, but Irma's very charitable about them. Your omelettes are much fluffier and much nicer. But mine have that sort of crispy, sort of burnt feel to them. So, you know, depending on what you like, nice omelette or something that's burnt to a cinder. It's to people's liking. Sharon remembers the Red Arrows in Skegness in the 1960s and 70s. They've been at it a while, those guys, haven't they? Yeah, and they're very, very good and very, very professional. And I think we should be proud of them because they do a super job. And yeah, hello Sarah, thank you for joining us this evening. Clacton has Red Arrow displays above the North Sea, apparently. I bet Sharon listened when she was a youngster to all the pirate radio stations, as I did, because they were just off the coast of Essex, where we used to live when I was a kid, and playing all this wonderful pop music, which was super and pretty damn good. Now, the German Bundesliga restarts on Saturday. And I think that's their football league, giving footy fans something to watch after months of being paused. So football is to restart in Germany, but there's going to be. Can you guess what's going to be different about the footy that's going to start in Germany coming this Saturday? There's only one person I can ask, and she's the one having a cup of tea, a coffee, when I ask the question. So football is restarting in Germany. There it is. There's the crowd and there are the footballers. Yeah. What's going to be different?
Don't know.
There are going to be 12,000 fans in the stadium, but they're going to be cardboard cutouts.
Oh, interesting.
12,000 cardboard cutouts. I'm going to see if I can make this picture a bit bigger and hold it up to the screen. I think that's just such a funny thing. And maybe crowd noises and things. Oh, and did I just crash everything on the computer? I held it up. Yes, I did. Oh, well done. I crashed the browser by holding it up to the screen.
Oh, yeah, that computer cannot take too much information, remember?
Neither can I tell you. Let me tell you. So the whole of the rest of what I was going to say has now just disappeared in a big flash of smoke. But we shall overcome someday, and we'll do our best to get this sorted. And let's see what we can do here. Yes, I think we're sort of roughly more or less back in the old zone, with a bit of luck. So yeah, the 12,000 life-size cardboard cutouts of fans. I haven't got the pictures anymore, so all I can show you is a blank screen. But I've still got the words. And thousands of fans. Wow, this is an amazing thing, actually. Thousands of fans have ordered cardboard cutouts of themselves for the first game, and they cost €18. So €18 to have a cardboard cutout of yourself in a footy game.
That's brilliant. I think it's a good idea.
In the crowd. I think that's terrific. And the proceeds, you said, it's not some sort of money-making scam. The proceeds are going to go to local charities. So that is thoroughly good news all round. They should do that here.
That's a good idea. I think it's...
The fans, here's the best bit, the fans on the opposing teams can also order cardboard cutouts of themselves, but like in real matches, the opposing team will be stuck on the other end of the pitch. I mean, that's just the funniest thing, isn't it? That's just so amazing that they'll have their seating at the away end of the ground. So yeah, that's it's
a very good atmosphere when you are live there. So I assume if you're sitting in your couch and looking at a little...
We'll send that story to our boy when this finishes, because he'll like that. He'll like that. And here's the bad news. Plans to resume filming Coronation Street and Emmerdale are in the final stages. Damn! Because, knowing that they would run out was keeping me going. But but now we're in a situation where we're going to be plagued with what do you call it again? What do you call it? Soap. Well, I mean, soap is good for getting rid of viruses. So there's something to be said for it, perhaps. Mm-hmm. It looks like you've got a thought there.
No, I don't. No.
Oh, you picked up the book. Anyway, carry on. But anytime you do, just feel free to interject. So Kevin says Eastbourne has red arrows displaying over the sea as well, but not this year.
Oh.
So interesting, and Sharon remembers Radio Caroline, which is terrific, and she lived in Leicester as a teenager, where some of the bands from Shawadi Wadi, who remembers them, came from Leicester. I remember them. I remember them on Top of the Pops as well. And how about that? It was indeed a very different world, and when Sharon was between 8 and 16 years old, I think, she was sent by her nan to a bar to buy beer. No problem with that. No verifications and everything. And common sense. They knew it was for Sharon's nan, and very, very sensible world we had back then. And yes, I do remember Feed the World, don't they know it's Christmas time, Live Aid and all that kind of stuff. I remember it very, very well. So are the football players getting paid for those games in Germany? I don't know. The article doesn't say. One would imagine they probably are, and it'll be televised and all that kind of stuff. But it's the cardboard cutouts, I think, from the fans that are going to the charity. And if you've got a stadium full of these things, 12,000 fans times €18, that's a fair bit of money for the local charities. So credit to them for doing their bit, I guess. Ooh, and then in Austria, see, things are slowly opening up in Europe, and time will tell whether this works. In Austria, restaurants and cafes are reopening with tables at least a metre apart. Salt shakers are banned. What the heck is that about?
Because you touch them, I suppose. It's part of cross contamination if you do.
Oh, because the previous person touched them, but
It could
not
be.
pepper, not pepper things, not pepper mills. It says, doesn't say that. I mean, so what's that?
Well, I don't know. That's what I thought. It might be.
No, I'm sure.
It might be some other different.
I'm
Maybe
absolutely
against,
sure you're right, because they were doing some contact tracing in Germany or something, and they actually were really, really accurate about tracing it. And I remember this one case where they traced the fact that this guy gave the salt shaker to his friend. They seriously did this, and that was the point of transmission of the virus, where the friend picked it up and then scratched his nose.
Oh.
I know. So there we are. So salt up the nose is not a good thing, let me tell you. And 950,000 households are going to get €50 coupons in Vienna to encourage them to go out to restaurants, cafes, and bars. Would you? Right now?
Don't know. It's
I wouldn't.
just- yeah, it's a bit tricky. No.
No. I mean, it's a good initiative, but yeah, God bless them.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't. You're not going to see me in a club, although you haven't seen me in a club really very much anyway. So
Yes, you have. You have been.
I've had my moments. Oh yeah, I have my moments, but I'm a bit in my seventh decade or whatever it is. I'm a bit old for that kind of thing.
Some good news from News Sky. Man reunited with prosthetic leg after boy finds it on treasure hunt.
As you do.
That's brilliant news.
Please, I found a leg.
See, the prosthetic was found by 13-year-old Sebastian Morris, who was scuba diving the Panama City jetties. Okay, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? This in Florida. He was surfing and he lost his leg, and some boy found it. That's
How
brilliant.
extraordinary. Yeah.
Can you imagine being reunited with your leg?
Yeah, he was surfing on the 11th of April when a wave knocked off his $3,000 titanium prosthetic limb, which had been custom made. I knew immediately it was off of me. I think you would, he said. He told the reporter. I think you'll notice. Where's my leg? Oh dear, where did it go? Extraordinary, but what a great find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now here's the
Good
thing.
stories.
A new charity. It's called Connect the Love, and anything that's called that has got to be a good thing. That gets me.
Connect the love.
That gets my attention. Yes.
Oh.
And it is providing elderly people in care homes with iPads so that they can video call their families.
Oh, that's
And
great
that's a very good initiative. Shame it can't be Androids, but And I was a bit unfair to Apple the other day when I was disparaging them and because I had the settings wrong and I was trying to connect to the Apple iPhone, having switched off the Wi-Fi so it couldn't actually send out a signal. So sorry Apple.
And there was my poor phone. But still
so
works.
All that rant was for nothing,
Yep.
But I still don't like them. but Now in that other place, we call it the other place with dreaming spires and things in Oxford. They've made some little paper boats, and they've hung them on a bridge full of positive messages. And the organizer said that she wanted to highlight the wonderful acts of kindness and the power of community spirit, which I think is nice.
Mm-hmm. It's
Really?
lovely.
Is that a picture of all the football fans in the stadium?
Oh no, that's to do with art. They just put in a lot of photos together of different people, nurses, doctors, patients.
Oh, and they made a
else.
picture of
And
Florence
they made a
Nightingale.
picture of Florence Nightingale. Mm-hmm.
Oh, how lovely! Can we show it?
Yes, of course you can.
Look at that! Isn't that beautiful?
Mm,
That's
you will be
very, very
able to
nice.
see.
And so, each of the sort of pixels in that image, each of the little dots, is a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
What a lovely, lovely thing! Wow, that must have taken somebody a long time to put together.
I suppose so. Yes.
I think there's software to do it.
Of course.
Because I have seen photos like that before, but not that one, and that's a really good one. That's a really, really good one. And so yeah, where were we? Ah, yes. So we spoke yesterday, didn't we, at great length about Captain Tom, who has got a deal now with Penguin Random House to write his memoirs, and I for one will be, well, not at the front of the queue, but I will order it on that well-known website which shares its name with a famous river in South America. That one. That
Nickable.
one. And Captain Tom said, "I'm so looking forward to sharing my autobiography with you. I'd better get writing." And the book is going to support the launch of the Captain Tom Foundation. What a lovely thing to do at the age of 100. That's so positive.
Very inspiring. Super inspiring.
A fabulous guy. And he's going to do two books in the autumn as well. His autobiography is going to be called Tomorrow Will Be a Good Day, and he's going to write a children's book as well. That's fabulous. That's fabulous news. And the children's book is going to be about a fella walking 100 laps of his garden. That's nice. It'll teach him to count as well. So yeah, that's fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that's what our son's going to be getting for Christmas. Even though he's 22, he will be by then. But never mind. It's the thought that counts, isn't it? Really, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the word of the day for me.
What's today's word? Annihilate.
Ameliorate.
Oh, good. So
Not annihilate.
Annihilate.
No. Ameliorate.
Okay, and what's that mean?
It's to make or become better. If a parent can't make himself rich, he at least wants to ameliorate his children's prospects.
He does. Doesn't want to annihilate them, he just wants to ameliorate them. How come that's on the same page? Hello, Kieran. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's good to have you on board. Ooh,
what is that?
here's the thing. Well, it says relatives are allowed to have allowed families to visit relatives even if they're up high, and that doesn't mean the relatives smoking mushrooms. Okay, what it means is that in Belgium they're using cranes to lift up the family members and sort of dangle them outside the windows of the care homes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's quite a cool thing, isn't it? This method came about when there's a cleaner called, of course, Tristan van den Bosch, who was an operations manager at a cleaning and maintenance company. He saw a man on the ground shouting up to his mother on the third floor, and he thought, we can sort this. So he's got a few spare cranes apparently, and not many people can boast that, having a few spare cranes knocking about. And so there you go. And isn't that fabulous? That is absolutely fabulous. Did you hear about the story while Captain Tom was doing his walk? Did you hear there was a 90-year-old lady who was climbing the Sullivan Mountains on her staircase? The Sullivan Mountains are about 700 and something 50 meters tall, and she's going up and down the stairs, and she's reached the halfway point, simultaneously halfway up and halfway down because of the way that stairs work on this mountaintop. And so she's climbed 141 flights of stairs so far, and she has raised more than 30 times her target of £10,000. Yes, it's fabulous. And she said she's looking forward to a good rest at the summit, which is a good thought.
I think everybody's doing something to fundraise and in to help as much as a little as they can. Yeah. So are you thinking of doing any fundraising yourself?
Well, I noticed you've got the electric device there, and we did talk about this, didn't we? And
yes.
I've bottled out at the moment, but give it time, and we might.
We're gonna be doing it. Yeah.
We've actually got this here,
but it's not charged.
It's not charged.
Don't, not just yet. But we will. Perhaps a week today. Yeah.
Does it take Friday. A toothbrush attachment? Because I could.
No, it doesn't.
Damn. but I shall try to wriggle out of it as much as I can
You can try
in
your
time.
best.
Oh, Rodney, hello again. Welcome back to our little evening soiree at home here. And hello, Anita, as well. Thank you for joining us on this Friday night. Friday nights are really quite rocky, aren't they, these days in
Oh my
lockdown?
God, yes, I forgot it's Friday.
Yeah, we're going to
And
rock on
here I
roll
am,
all night and party
drinking
every day.
coffee instead of wine.
I know. But then you had wine instead of coffee last night, so it balances out.
Yeah.
Balances out. So yeah. No. This is good news, I guess. You see, no pedestrians have died in traffic-related accidents in the empty New York City in 58 days, the longest period since the city started recording fatalities in 1983.
That's good news.
So that is good news. So, who needs all these traffic going around everywhere? Anyway, ban them, really. And in New Zealand, where they were one of the first people to just shut the doors, which, when there's people walking around infected with an invisible virus that doesn't show symptoms for about a week, that's the most sensible thing to do, really, isn't it? And so now New Zealanders were able to meet up with friends and family and go back to shops for the first time in 7 weeks on Thursday. The national lockdown has ended, meaning restaurants, malls, cinemas, cafes, gyms and playgrounds all reopened. No cases. How about that? And just, keep it locked and you won't get any more of them. The results of that, do you remember that? We saw that on Andrew Marr. Other political TV shows are available, but his is pretty good. That Oxford vaccine trial.
Yes.
The first results of that are going to be available in the middle of June. Hundreds of people have had the vaccination, and there are more than 1,000 people who want to start phase 2 of that. But the trouble now is, you see, we're victims of our own success in that only 1 in 400 people have actually got this vaccine. So how do we really know whether it works or not? That's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to catch up. I think it might just dilute itself, the actual virus, eventually without.
Well, it might, but then on the other hand, it might not.
But
It might turn into a 6-headed monster and
No.
ravage the countryside. So we just don't know. We just don't know. If I was a virus, I wouldn't go down without a fight. I tell you, I'd be giving it some. So let us give it some back. Is my serious point here. We need to fight this thing and squish it into oblivion. Sharon is a very versatile friend, really. She used to create and manage courses that went into care homes and old people's homes. Tutors taught cognitive, IT, creative courses and physical exercise, massage as well. A new initiative in the last decade, and Sharon measured as well the social return on investment, which is got to be priceless, because when you're one of the things in a social sort of care environment is you're just dumped in an armchair and left there to rot. So it's fabulous to take this approach, to take a holistic, positive, preventative approach, and that will I tell you it will reduce the onset of dementia. I had a friend whose mother went to live in France at the insistence of Dad, and there was like nothing to do for her there. And Dad was spoke French and was in all the local committees and clubs, and for Mum, all there was is just to look out the window, and once a week a car would go past, and so Mum suffered as a result. So you don't have to be in a care home to suffer from lack of stimulation and stimulus and this kind of thing. It's bad, and certainly as we get older and as our faculties decline, we need to keep stimulating it, and we absolutely do. My dad used to exercise absolutely everything at the good old age of 89, and I've told Irma this. He got this board, a piece of wood, a plank of wood, and he knocked nails in it all the way along. And then he used to focus on that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. I'm actually doing it as I'm illustrating it. And that was one of his daily exercises. He exercised everything. He was doing his biceps and his legs and walking and all that. And, if we stay in shape, then we will reach a decent old age and be good. John Colclough says hello, says Sharon, and thank you so much. That's wonderful. You remembered. I'm honoured. So please, next time you speak to John, say hello back. He's a very fine fella, and I would love to see him again someday when we're allowed out of the house again. Which at the moment, Irma swallowed the keys, so I can't at the moment. Just said, well, you're not having that, and it's gone. Imagine that. So she didn't really. But I'm not going anywhere. Kevin says, as per standard practice, that the volunteers taking these trials are in 2 groups. Hello, Darren. Thank you for joining us. Those with the vaccine and those with a placebo. They're all being submitted to COVID-19 virus. This is how trials work. What? They expose these people to the virus? Oh, that's how the smallpox vaccine worked, isn't it? I know that. Wow. I see.
Yeah, in lower doses, I suppose.
Yeah. So Sharon says that she has lived in many lives and dreams, but is now happy in the time, space, and mind space that she has, where she is now, and that is the thing, to be happy in the place where you are now. I think that's life's greatest lesson, to be honest. I really do. And yes, let's keep the prefrontal cortex firing, and all the other cortices as well. Is that a prefrontal cortex? Let's keep the whole brain whizzing away all the time, and let's throw the television on the dustbin, because it turns you into it kind of stupefies you and turns you into a bit of a zombie. Honestly, so totally does. Yeah, they put electrodes all over people's heads, and they measure all the things, and you get it's like sort of REM sleep. It's like light sleep, but within 30 seconds they're turning on the old goggle box, and that doesn't apply to sort of watching us doing this daily rant, because that's just a sort of get together with mates, and it's a 2-way interactive thing, and blah blah. But your soap opera or whatever does that to you, and the news does it to me in 10 seconds. Funding ran out for Sharon's project, but she says the medical research team were amazing. It's very sad when there are trials that are going well, and some bureaucrat somewhere pulls the plug because he needs to balance his budget and puts it on something else, and then you come to year end of the financial year for the government department, and then they've got to spend a lot of money on crap just so they get their money next year. It's not good. We should allocate our resources in a fairer way, I think, and target them towards stuff that is benefiting folks. I would be very much in favour of that.
Yeah, one of our friends is Roy Layton. He's a creative director of Undiscovered Country. He's just shared this post from Rose McGlennon, University of Cambridge, in which he's a senior lecturer in teacher education and development, pedagogical innovation, University of Cambridge, Faculty of Education, and basically it's elimination theory with children. So things are gonna change in terms of education. So there is funding. If that project can be restarted again, the one that Sharon was involved a time ago, it's probably time to resurrect. It's now is a time in which education needs to be addressed in terms of the lockdown we're going under, and it has been an issue in education for a while. Roy has been working so intensely throughout the years.
I like his 3 bullet points there. He talks about competence, so that we're effective in our own interactions with others. He talks about autonomy, feeling that we are the originators of our own ideas, that they come from within, which they most certainly do. And relatedness, feeling connected to those around us. So I think that these are very, very important values to instill in our younger generation, and I'm very much in favour of that. Plus, I think you said that Roz, she comes from Cambridge.
Dr. Ross McLennan is from Cambridge, but Roy, my friend, is involved in this research, and obviously expanding the voice in terms of how parents and carers can also let the children have choices in how to do things, and allow them a level of self-direction to follow their interests.
That's terrific.
So yeah, education was long overdue a rethink. Because all these things of going in and learning in a very, very... I know one of the purposes of education perhaps is to instill kind of formative years. That's what they call formative years. But however, there comes a times in which every single individual, i.e. children, a student, or whoever is involved in education, needs to really address their own needs in terms of learning and developing. What is that Kevin just said?
Well, I'm looking at some other things. So, Sharon says, which I thoroughly endorse and support. Listen up. My TV broke when my children were 8 and 6. The best summer ever. Yes. She's given me the evils.
I wasn't allowed to watch too much television when I was young. We were metered. We had a TV room and he was only allowed to for certain programs. All these soaps and everything was completely switched off if I ever dared to look at one of those. So yes,
When I was young, we only had about half an hour's television a day. And that is the truth. There's no Cartoon Network or any of this stuff. It was just like from about when you get home from school, there's about half an hour of children's TV, and that was it. And then it was the adult stuff, and I had no compunction to watch Coronation Street or Crossroads then, which was probably one of the worst soap operas ever. Although there are worse ones. There was an Australian one. Some of the Australian ones are worse. There's one called The Young Doctors. I seem to remember that one.
I know.
There we go. There we go. So, and coming back to Sharon's project, she says the project goals went against the medical goals. And if I understand this rightly, so the medical goals were that these people should be unwell and treated to keep the doctors in work. I'm not quite sure I understand this. So perhaps you can amplify this a bit. I don't really follow. Because I would have thought, that the goals of a project that delayed dementia would be in accordance with medical goals and doing it without prescribed medication and that kind of thing. I'm not quite sure I follow. So if you could sort of amplify that a bit, Sharon, for us.
Yeah.
All care home residents and staff to be tested before June, say the government. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That is very, very, very good news indeed, and absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, but what you said about dementia just reminded me of that video we saw about this man who got dementia, and they play some music for him, and he just became alive completely altogether. Remember, It was beautiful.
Music is the best therapy, isn't it? Really, and like let's be honest, I'm a miserable sod for 166 hours a week, but for those 2 hours on Tuesday nights when I do the rock show, I'm almost human.
Yes.
No, she didn't rush to contradict me.
Is the truth?
Yeah, miserable sod for 165 hours a week. Okay, yeah, that's true. Now, the WHO. Oh, and we saw as well. You saw, didn't you, on YouTube today? It said something like Doctor Who predicted the COVID-19 crisis speaks out. And this was a thing, and she goes, look, Doctor Who predicted the COVID-19 crisis. So we clicked on this video, and it's Doctor, who predicted the COVID-19 crisis, da da da. So that was just the funniest ever thing. That was so funny, because I thought it was going to be, would it be Matt Smith, or was it Chris Eccleston, or David Tennant, or... But no, some fella.
He was hilarious.
It was very funny. And we both found this article separately, actually, through our friend Judith, who posted it. And we both thought that it was Doctor Who.
Yes.
So there you go, but it wasn't. So the WHO, the World Health Organization, is looking at five promising treatment drugs for COVID-19, which are limiting the severity or length of the disease. It's in the early stages, but there's nothing that can stop or kill the virus at the moment. But we're addressing that. What is it called? Cytokine storm, or whatever it's called. The thing where the body turns on itself and eats itself, which we don't want. So that is very good. Plus, vitamin D3 maximum permitted dose every day, recommended here in Davidville, and I've taken it. It's 5 days now that I've taken it. I'm not good with tablets. How many days did you have to remind me of those 5? 4?
4. Yeah, I think it was 4. And what I do now, I just put it right in front of. There you go.
I know. Oh, yeah, she rattled the thing this morning, and I thought, ooh, what's that shiny thing, rattly, which was a great sort of pick me up.
Do you have any questions for this week? For today, sorry.
Oh yes, we do actually. Funny you should mention that, because our absolutely sterling supporter Kevin gets these for us, and then we're able to read them out and give our rather unusual and perhaps some unorthodox take on things. So today's questions from the public. Susanna from Oxford says this: the government's COVID alert level 1 is eradication of coronavirus in the United Kingdom. Is this a realistic policy target? It is, if you do it properly. And what you need to do is when people arrive on aeroplanes, you test them immediately, like they do in China for COVID. And while you're waiting for the results to come through, you entertain them at the airport by sticking them in a room with a bed and some water and a sandwich, and make them wait 48 hours before they can come in the country. So yes, that's attainable. And then what we do is we stay in lockdown until the number of people infected falls to a very low level, which it would have done by the beginning of July, because Kevin's got this spreadsheet that we jointly developed, and I've added a new column, so I'll be sharing that with you probably after we come off today. I'm always fiddling with it. If we test people, everybody, exhaustively, and we don't do 10,000 tests a day, we do, well, what one scientist suggested we do 10 million, and that's quite doable in all the little laboratories you've got all around the country. There was enough equipment before the government started confiscating it and centralising it. Who knows what for? But back a month ago, there was enough equipment to do that, and you could just test the whole population on a rolling basis every week, and you'd know who's got it, and you could isolate them, and then you could contact trace them. And I am in favour of an app. It was written by Google and the other one, and that other firm, Crapple, that's the one. So do that. Don't go with a silly one that you develop yourself. Somebody in the NHS wrote it in their lunchtime. Go with the one that the big team whose job it is to write software do. So to summarise, lock down the borders. Test everybody who comes, every single person who comes into the UK. Test them for the virus. Don't let them into the UK until we know they're negative. And wait until July before letting people out, and thereafter test everybody in the UK once a week, which you could do, and then contact trace anybody who's got it, and again self-isolate them. On that basis, it's gone, and we've won. So it is theoretically possible. Whether our esteemed leaders are up to the challenge of doing it is another question altogether for another day.
Still a long way, baby.
So what was question 2?
This is Anna from Worthing. After many years of waiting for a pay rise, nurses are frustrated and feel very devalued due to a never-ending, unrecognized financial pay they deserve. Would this crisis be strong evidence for the government to finally recognize that nursing is a highly skilled profession and it deserves decent pay?
What do you reckon?
Well, it is a strong case. I hope they...
It's a very strong case. And applauding is not enough. Applauding is bullshit. It's great to recognise what these guys are doing, but recognise it in their pay packets, okay? And city financiers can all take a 50% cut in their overinflated crap that they get paid for juggling things around and doing things on computer screens, and we can give that to hard-working doctors and nurses saving lives. A banker, a city financier, never saved anybody's life in their life.
I think they need to be recognized. I remember when I was doing management studies, I did an exercise in how a pay package should be worked out for each individual so in this case I was working with a health club. So you have to really identify every single interaction that they have, and then put that on a kind of scale, a pay scale. So yes, they are out there 24/7, because even when they go home, they still have the risks that they encounter during the day. So it's a very high risk environment for them to live on. Not only physical, because the possibility of contracting infections or viruses themselves, but also emotional and psychological, because they're dealing with human feelings, behaviors, and emotions. Sometimes people are ill and probably not in 100% of their capacities because they are under drugs or medication, very strong medication. So they're not only dealing with this individual in terms of health, but also in terms of the emotions that this individual is portraying as a patient, because being under the influence of whatever medication is under. Yeah, so they need to really recapitulate on that in terms of reassessing the whole thing package, basically they encounter every day. So yes.
And you know, a lot of thank you, Kevin. He endorses us. Kevin used to watch Blue Peter and the Magic Roundabout before the evening news, especially the Magic Roundabout, which was Emma Thompson's dad, Eric Thompson, and he took this very mundane sort of stop frame animation children's TV series about a roundabout and a bouncy guy called Zebedee and a little girl called Florence and a dog called Dougal and then there was Dylan the sort of a poet with guitar, probably based on Bob Dylan, and all these kind of very colourful characters. And he just completely didn't translate it from French, although that was his brief. He just completely wrote different stories, which was just hysterically funny. And I'll see if I can find one to play it to you. It was the highlight of the day. And in fact, the adults used to come home early from work and watch that. It was the last children's programme. The adults would watch that as well and have a good old chuckle. Because in the same way that The Simpsons has a lot of humour aimed at adults, so did Magic Roundabout, you know. Teachers, that's another profession that we should absolutely reward. And you know,
Oh, yes.
70 years ago or something, teachers lived in these nice Victorian 3-bedroom houses and everything, and they could afford it on their salaries. And now, here in Cambridge, for example, teachers are paid so little that they have to live on houseboats. And I'm not kidding you.
Did you know that? I don't know if it's worldwide, but in Mexico today is the Teachers' Day.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yes, got a very dear friend of mine who visited me last couple of years ago, and whom I brought to Cambridge for a visit. He's a teacher. Retired now. He's a student. So yeah, Teachers' Day today. So teachers need to be rewarded also, because they deal with our unruly children.
Yeah, that's about the size of it, isn't it? That is about the size of it, for sure. What have you got in the little book of...
Little Drops of Wisdom. This is from the Dalai Lama. It says, we are trying to get peace or happiness from outside, from money or power, but real peace, tranquility should come from within. And it's the truth. Sometimes we are so busy thinking and reacting and living a busy life and coping with this, that, and the other, that we forget, and then we think, there's something missing. It's peaceful is missing. What is peace? Peace comes from within. So if you were to lead a very busy life, it's just good from time to time just to step aside and listen to the silence.
I agree.
And be happy with the silences that life gives you, because it's a little time that your brain is resetting and really being in the present moment. And if you use that regularly, if you make that habit, wow, the difference is amazing in your quality of life, that is.
I'll read one of these days a story that my uncle, who was a monk, used to tell me about the precious present.
Oh yes, you've read that.
It's a very, very moving story. And I've got a recording. It's the only recording I've got of my uncle. I've got him telling this story in his own words.
Oh,
so that's lovely. We'll share this. We'll share this. We have come to that magic hour, and it's oh my goodness, it's time for the 10 o'clock news. You see, so nobody's going to stay with us now. So on that basis, I think we should bid everybody a very good night with a final thought.
Well, a final thought is this book I wrote 4 years ago, and he says when God asks, well, whatever your perception in terms of this, there is a higher little thing inside you that asks you a question. So this one would be today's. Does any possession love you back? What will you say?
Food for thought. Thank you. We'll see you at the same time-ish tomorrow. Thank you for your company this evening.
Thank you. Bye now.
Appreciate it.